we will study about radio broadcasting, and we will discuss about how it started, and then we will come back to India and how radio broadcasting started in India also, right? So let us start with the early phase of radio broadcasting, because what happens is that when we talk about communication, we always feel that communication can be done through oral means only. It means through our language, the way we speak, through speaking only we do communication. But this is not always, because communication can be done without speaking also, and with the through some signs also, right? So in doing so, the ancient Greeks were the first people who used other mediums than sending a messenger. They experimented with fire by night, column of smoke, or large mirrors by day. So they started experimenting on communication, that for example, suppose there is some danger, then what they did, they started that on a hilltop they will burn a fire at night, and through fire people will understand that yes, this is a kind of danger, and so they will be prepared. uh, in the same manner, through column of smoke, through large mirrors, by just giving some shadow, they were trying to communicate through other means also. So ancient Greeks were the first people. Top hills used to be a transmission point, but experiments were started in 19th century to send messages through some electronic signals. So these were signals. I mean, if you are using fire or smoke or large mirrors, what are these? These are some signals. So, but real experiments started in 19th century, when people started, some scientists started experimenting on electronic signals, right? That through, because radio, what is radio? Radio is electromagnetic waves, and through that wave communication is done. So these experiments were started in 19th century. The experimentation turned fruitful in 1837, when an American scientist, Samuel Morse, successfully conducted the first experiment with an electronic recording. This was the invention of fastest mode of communication, telegraph. So telegraph office actually used to be in India also. I think in 2017 or 16, telegraph was completely closed in India, because people used to send telegram kind of thing through by using telegraph. But if today you want to send telegram, it is not possible, because it has already been set by the Indian government. So this telegraph was invented by Samuel Morse, and in 1837, right? And in 1837, so if someone asks you who invented telegraph, so it was Samuel Morse in 1837, and that's why the code, but this was point-to-point communication. It cannot be the tool of mass communication. The simple reason was that for doing this kind of communication, you need two sets of machines, and through one set of machine you will send some code to the another set of machine, and other machines will decode your signals, and that message will be provided to the receiver. So this is how the telegram or telegraph machine work. And the code which is used for communication, that is called Morse code, right? But obviously this can be used only for short messages, or to emergency, in emergency situation, this kind of messages used to be sent, because in villages you people are young, but in villages, if someone used to receive telegram, so the word itself means, I mean, people used to be very frightened by hearing this word only, that telegram has been received, or you have some telegram. Telegram means something emergency, and because this was kind of emergency, SOS kind of messages were sent through telegram. But obviously, because it was a point-to-point communication, so it cannot be the medium of mass communication, right? Radio is the first modern media form. It was the first time in human history that information can be broadcast. So it could be received by anyone with right kind of equipment without any wire. And it had a huge impact on history of 20th century. Many people liken it in similar manner to what is happening with internet today. So when radio was the first modern medium, when people started sending and receiving signals. Before that, our communication system was very much traditional kind of, that by speaking or by writing or by making some symbols by hands, we used to communicate. But it was the beginning of new era of communication, when electronic signals can be sent and received. So obviously people liked it, and the first transmission started. Who invented radio? Everyone knows that it was G. Marconi, and Marconi had ideas of invention. He had some idea. First, he wanted to replace the wired telegraph, because telegraph used to be wired kind of communication. For that purpose, if you want to have telegraph offices everywhere, you have to connect all the offices through wire. So Marconi wanted to replace this wire telegraph. He started thinking that signals can be sent without wire or not. So this was his idea. Second was ensure the safety of ships at sea. Look what happened at that time, because sea to shore communication was very much weak at that time. And what used to happen, because you cannot wire a ship to the shore, because the telegraph cannot be installed on ship. Reason was simple, because the ship was a moving kind of a thing, and you cannot wire ship through by some officers at shore. So and due to this, safety of a ship was very much weak, because if some emergency situation emerged, people used to know it very late, and by the time they reach to help the people, ship is submerged already. So this is kind of system, and that's why he wanted to have a kind of system when you don't need wire and still you receive or send signals. So that's why, and you people must be knowing that when Titanic disaster, people you must be knowing that Titanic was a ship, and in its maiden journey to America, it met with an accident, and around 4,000 people, no, around 1,700 people died in that accident. And reason was simple, that they could not send the signal to the shore, and by the time people knew about this disaster, uh, people ship was already gone or submerged in the sea. So this was the system. That's why Marconi wanted to invent these kind of new invention. So the first documented radio transmission happened in 1895 by 21 years old Italian named G. Marconi. So he was just 21 years old, and 1895 he was successful in transmitting radio signals, electromagnetic signals without a wire. What he did is that he put a transmitter in his house and the receiver 3 miles away, right? And he sent his servant there and asked to fire. So receiver was 3 miles away, transmitter was at his home, and his servant went there and fired a bullet, and Marconi received the three dotted transmission. So this was a great invention, but the Italian government was not interested in the invention at that time. The Italian government was not very much interested, and that's why G. Marconi uh, moved to Britain. And look, Marconi had never been in university and taught himself physics or electronics. So, but he had some vision, he had some ideas, and he started working on that, and he was successful. So, if you have a creative mind, you need not to go to university. doesn't mean that you need higher study to anything. It can be achieved through your own will, and that's why he was not a student of physics, he was not a student of electronics, but still he invented a radio. He moved to Britain and kept his experiments on. He got full support from Ministry of Post. At that time, radio and this kind of sending and receiving messages was used to be controlled by Ministry of Post. So that's why Britain took interest in these experiments, and Britain government supported it. He took out several patents and started building radio stations across the south coast of Britain. So you can understand that radio stations started emerging. And in 1901, he crossed St. John Terranova and received first transatlantic Atlantic signals. So now in just 5 to 6 years, what happened is that now transatlantic signals can be. It means that through one continent to another continent, signals can be sent. So in just 6 years, he worked so hard that he built a kind of system through which you can transmit your signal to other continent without wire, right? So with the advent of, so this was a new type of communication. With the advent of radio, communication became easy and fast. What is the main importance of radio being inducted as a communication channel? What is the, if I ask you, what is the difference between written communication and radio communication?
Radio
One,
communication can
one,
illiterate person
uh,
also.
yeah, yeah,
So the radio communication can be
again,
understood by ill illiterate person also.
yes. So radio filled the gap of illiterate and literate. This was the one of the great achievement of radio communication. Because what used to happen earlier, that if you want to have messages, if you want to know about what is happening all around, you need to be literate, or you need to be in company with a literate person at least, so that a literate person can read out newspaper for you. And that's why even in India today, even you will find that in panchayats and so many villages, some people read newspaper and rest of them listen to that. But this kind of differences was, I mean, filled by this radio communication. It was fast, it was easy, and obviously it filled the gap between literate and illiterate. So radio had an immediate application in shipping. Earlier, what used to happen is that it was there was no licensing system in radio signals. So if when Marconi invented all these things, so many new and mature scientists also started working with these radio signals and these radio waves, and they started making their own radio channels. And they used to have so at that time the traffic of radio signal traffic was very used to be jammed kind of. And this was one of the reason why when Titanic was in danger and Titanic was sending the codes in Morse code, or sending the signal that they are in danger, that message was not received because that signal through which it has to travel was very much jammed. So after this happened and the government started feeling that no, this kind of mature people should not come into this. If there must be some licensing system, then government introduced licensing system also. So if you want to run a radio channel, if you want to have your own wavelength, then you have to apply to the government. Government will give you permission. Then only you will be able to use those radio signals. So this happened later on. So radio had an immediate application in shipping. Now ships could communicate with each other and land. So now if in ocean, if there are several ships, if they are in danger, so they can consult the nearest ships. So this happened just because of these radio signals, right? Now they can contact to the shore also. They have through radio signals. So it had been also used by intelligence agencies to circulate messages fast. and so this Germany was defeated in Second World War because this Britain and all other America and Russia, these countries became successful in decoding the messages sent by Germany to their military posts. Reason was simple that they used to send messages in coded language through these electromagnetic signals, but Britain employed some great mathematicians and they decoded those messages and I mean, the military of Britain and America and Russia were well prepared before the advancement of German military. So this was one of the reasons why Germany and Hitler was defeated because they could not, safeguard their coded messages. But these uses were not broadcast. So these, ships communication or ship to shore communication or the usage of these signals by intelligence agencies, these cannot be termed as mass communication or as broadcast because again this was the use of radio was limited to the point-to-point communication. Suppose one ship is communicating to another ship. What is this? This is a point-to-point communication. It means communication between one ship to another. Again, if suppose ship is communicating to the shore or to the some offices at the land, so again it is point-to-point communication. Any communication, any medium can be termed as mass communication when it is used as mass communication for giving mass messages, for giving something for masses, right? So, so again, this usage of communication, radio being used as communication, mass communication tool later on, right? So before radio became mass communication tool, some other inventions were also going on. At that time, wireless telegraph to wireless telephone. Some people were involved in developing wireless telephone also, right? Inventors like Lee, J. Forrest, and Rudyard Fessenden. These were two people who were trying to invent wireless telephone and use it as mass medium, right? It means that suppose a telephone is also point-to-point communication. Someone is calling to you, you receive the call and you hear it. So what is it? This is a kind of point-to-point communication. But these people were involved in developing wireless telephone. It means suppose today you have a mobile phone. This is a wireless telephone kind of thing, and when you use your speaker button, then 5 or 6 people can hear it, right? So they were involved in developing such kind of telephone, wireless telephone, which can be used as mass media. But people like Marconi decry it as it will not private, right? So Marconi never said that no, this wireless telephone will work. So and obviously Marconi got the government support. These Fessenden and Lee Forest, these people did not get support of government, and that's why their experiment did not succeed. And Marconi, experiments were successful, and because they got support of Marconi got support of British government, and later on, U.S. government also started working on this radio signal, and later on, radio became a tool of mass communication also.